Hello and welcome back to Part-Time Bodybuilder. This is your host, Holly Jeans. I am joined today by Jenny Hamilton. I am very excited to finally have her on the podcast. She is a fellow bikini competitor and also a coach. So welcome on the podcast, Jenny.
Hi. My first podcast, so I'm a bit nervous.
Amazing. No need to be nervous. I'm not that scary.
No, you're all good.
We've actually been speaking for quite a while, on and off. So we actually started talking in, I think, 2018 when you first started competing.
Yeah, it'd be like January, February 2018. Yeah. So wow, that's a long time ago now.
No.
Oh, was it 2019? Last year.
Was it 2019?
Last year. It was 2019, yeah. I was thinking that. I was like, I don't think I've been doing that this long. And yeah. 2019.
Clearly, I don't know where I've been or what I've been doing. You actually kind of got dropped into the competing world, didn't you? I remember seeing a message on, was it the Compact or Jazz's page, to say that you had just got your Instagram account and that you didn't know anyone in bodybuilding.
Yeah, so what happened was I made a separate Instagram account because basically where I'm from, there's not a lot of competitors and I didn't know of any competitors apart from my boyfriend. And so like literally I was like checking in, doing like frontal biceps and most musculars because like I didn't know anything about bikini competing. I didn't know any bikini competitors really. Like all I'd ever seen was like the YouTubes I'd watched and it was all like American style, you know, like the OG like Nikki Black kind of vibes, like all the old YouTube bikini girls. And so I just wanted a way to connect with people. And so I made this Instagram and it was called Jenny's Bikini Journey. So shout out to anyone who has been following me since those days. I put it up and I followed the Compact page from that because I knew someone who had suggested Compact. And when I followed them, they followed me back and they had seen my first post, which was just like, I think it was like a motivational quote, maybe. And it just said something about, hi, this is me and I don't know what I'm doing, basically. And Jazz shared my profile on the Compact story and literally an hour, 50 girls, like you being one of them, had commented on my post, messaged me being like, hey, are you going to Compact meetup? When are you competing? What shows are you doing? And like, I was like, oh my goodness. Like, it was just, I was thrown into this community of people who were all so lovely. And a lot of them I still speak to, like yourself included. And it's amazing that I still have all these connections from like that was the first time I ever reached out to ask about anything about competing, and literally within like an hour I had all these random people I'd never met before being so nice to me. And from then I was like, wow, like what a community this is. And me and Jazz talk about this all the time. Like it was a really special moment for me. And I know it was for Jazz as well, because I knew it was like, you know, it was a reflection of the brand she had built with Compact, that everyone was so nice and willing to help me. And it was just, yeah, that is literally how we met. And that was my first kind of glimpse into the real kind of bikini scene.
I can't believe that was only a year ago. I know it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's nearly 2 years ago now because we are coming to the end of 2020. But yeah, it was because I competed in April 2019. So it can't have been 20. Yeah, it was definitely 2019.
Yeah,
it seems ages ago.
It was February 2019, wasn't it? The Compact meet. Yeah. And it was before that.
Yeah, it was I think it was probably January that post and everything happened.
So what made you decide that you were going to compete for the first time?
So like I said, I've been watching like bikini competing like vlogs and things like that from about the age of 16, and it's something that always interested me. And I've been going to the gym since I was 16 and I didn't really know what I was doing. Like I would just go in and I would always train legs, legs and abs, and that's all I ever did. I didn't really know anything else. And it always really interested me, but I was also just like a massive party girl, and it interested me, but I was never that interested. And then I started when I was in Australia. I was going through quite a lot of stuff. I lived there for a year, and I was really struggling mentally, and I really used the gym as like my escape. And I decided I wanted to be a PT, or I wanted to try and become a PT while I was over there, because I was like, I love the gym and it is really helping me through this hard thing that I'm going through. So I want to see if I can help others. And so basically, long story short, because it's a saga, I got a job as a PT apprentice, and my boyfriend now, Nicky, also worked there, and he has competed for years, and we actually went all the way through school together. And he's been competing and training since about 15, 16. He did a lot of junior shows, and we would talk about it, and I was saying, like, I've actually been interested in it for a long time, but I don't really know what I'm doing. And he was like, you've got an all right foundation of muscle mass, you could probably do it. And then in the January of the following year, we kind of, or just before that actually, in the December, we decided that we were both going to compete in the kind of April, May time of the following year. And I wanted to just dip my toe in the water and see if I could do it. We both coached ourselves, and that was kind of how it got into it. Like, he was one of the main reasons I got into it, in that he encouraged me to go for it. But yeah, I'd always been interested, but I'd never had somebody give me the nudge to say, no, you're good enough, you can do it. So that's how I got into it, and it's all just snowballed from there.
What shows did you do that first season?
So it's just an IFBB regional one up in Scotland. So it was a very small show. There was 3 girls in the whole bikini class in the show. So when anyone that's been to a show will know how big the bikini classes normally are. So that just kind of shows you how it was, like a tiny little family run show, and it was great for a first show, because it wasn't as nerve-wracking, I don't think. And I was just trying to do everything on a budget, because I, one, had just gone self-employed from an apprenticeship and I was skint. And 2, I wanted to make sure I really wanted to do it before I invested, because as you know, like, competing is such an investment when you take in coaching and bikini and everything like that. So I bought a second-hand bikini from the Compact website. I got my posing shoes for my Christmas present, and I coached myself with help of Nikki. And yeah, from there, I fell in love with the whole process of bettering yourself. And then I came out from my off season. I was like, I know that I need to be better if I want to be competitive on a stage that's bigger than 3 people. So I went into an off season from there, and so that was in the April, and I coached myself through the first bit of my off season for the first few months, but I was getting scared. I didn't want to push food up or push body fat up. And I had been to a seminar with Jordan Peters and Corin in the January, and I knew from then that I wanted Corin to be my coach. So I saved up from the April to September, and in the September I managed to get in with Corin for off-season coaching, and I've been with her ever since. So yeah, that's how I got from that first, like, small little show to being able to go and compete in some bigger shows this year, which was really fun.
There's been a massive step up for you, hasn't there, in that off season? So
yeah,
the amount of progress that you made in that time is absolutely insane. For those that have followed you for the whole time, what changed in that off season for you?
So, like, when I want to do something, I'm in. Like, I'm either all or there's no chance it's happening. So I don't do things by halves, and that's just a kind of a part of who I am as a person. And it's something I'm actually trying to work on, because it's not always a good thing. But with that off season, I was very, very regimented, in that I did not like I treated it like a prep per se. Maybe not quite as strict, but everything was weighed to the gram. I did everything Corin said to the T as close as I could. I really changed my training as well. Like I was doing your typical kind of like 5 times 10 squats into 4 times 10 hamstring curls, and just like lots and lots of volume with not a lot of purpose. And so when she switched my training to, I mean, I had switched my training beforehand on my own, but not to the degree she had. I was still a bit scared of going super heavy with things. And there's a thing that me and you talk about as well, is I was scared of getting like a thick waist from doing too many heavy deadlifts and things like that. And it's insane. I can't believe I ever thought like that, because I've got the strongest I've ever gotten, and my waist was smaller this year than it was last year. So I mean, the training was a huge part of it, and progressive that's what I can accredit to allowing me to progress so much in just a 12-month off season.
There seems to be a misconception, especially with bikini, on how women should train. I think there's all these kind of things about cable kickbacks and glute bands and ways that women should train. However, I think there's proof that actually lifting heavy and doing, in some respects, what the men do isn't a bad thing, and actually it completely transforms your physique.
Not at all. Like there's no exercise that's like, oh, you shouldn't do it because you're a bikini girl, really, unless you are super overdeveloped in an area. You know, but even still, like I have quite dominant quads, but I do, like I have leg extensions in my plans now, and I've always had hack squats or anything like that, because they do still need to be worked. I don't want to lose them completely. And yeah, like I love guys' expressions at the gym when I like wait for them to get off the dip bars to go do my dips and stuff, and they're all confused, like, why is she doing dips? And I'm like, because as much as they don't show, I also have pecs. You know, like, and they still need trained. And yeah, just there's definitely a fear of, oh, if you lift too heavy, you're going to look like this. But a lot of it comes down to the nutrition and maybe the rep ranges. And as long as, if you're being smart with your training and you are programming it to your needs and you're training hard at what you do, like you shouldn't be like scared of getting stronger. And in fact, I can't wait, like this off season, I can't wait to get strong again, because I have lost a little bit of strength at the end of my prep, just because some movements were taken away from my training, just because my body was getting so tired by the end. But I can't wait to get a load of weight on a deadlift or an RDL again. That's why I do it. Like I always say, I compete because I train. I don't train because I compete. Like that's the part I
Yeah, I fell in love with the training before I ever even considered competing.
I think you can see people who are that way around. Like a lot of the time, I think people get into competing because they like the sparkly stage picture, whereas if you come from a place of that you love to train, but you just want to give your training that higher purpose, you're almost always, people have a more positive experience with it that way around than people who just want to look good in the bikini for the final pick and then they start to train. So that's why I always kind of say, if people ask me about, oh, how do you know if you should compete for the first time, and it's like, why are you doing it? And do you train already? Because if you don't, you need to make sure that you like that first, because otherwise you're just going to commit yourself to potentially 20 weeks of hell.
Yeah, I did what you did, I think, in that competing was, I needed a focus for my training rather than I train because I want to go on stage.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like even if this wasn't there, I would still get in the gym and do what I do, because that's the part, like I said, like when all the shows were cancelled kind of this year due to the whole COVID thing, like I didn't stop my prep, I didn't stop my training, it didn't even cross my mind, because I was like, I just enjoy doing this anyway. Like, regardless, I would never miss a session because, and like me and Nikki we've been on a week's holiday and we spent 4 of those days in the gym, and we normally train between like 11:30 and 12, and we didn't change our training time because we were on holiday. So most people would be like, why would you do that in the sunshine when you could be outside? But it's what we love, and we enjoyed going around different gyms and having great sessions. And it's just like, I do that with or without the stage, and it's so important that you enjoy it. Like, otherwise, yeah, it's just, you shouldn't do it because it is difficult.
Well, training was my sanity in lockdown.
Yeah, definitely. I was the same.
Even if it was a bit DIY. So I remember seeing you squatting off of a calm mechanic thing.
Yeah, it was like my dad's old car ramp, and we welded just 2 metal poles to stick out the front of it with a little lip on it so that we could squat and things. And yeah, we went on a mission in lockdown. We've actually, and it's been quite handy because obviously now we've got to quarantine for 2 weeks because we've just come back from Spain and we've got everything there. But we have like a full-on garage gym now because we were just like, nope, we are not missing out on our training.
Yeah, I ended up with a squat rack that was made out of buckets of cement and planks of wood, but it served a purpose.
Squat from the wheelie bins, wasn't it? And I was like, oh no, don't die.
I know, I'd moved back in with my parents for lockdown, and I thought, I'm going to get killed if I break their wheelie bins, so I had to come up with another solution.
So it's all good until it gets to like the heavy sets, and then that's not so good.
No, not at all. So obviously you've just come off the back of a very successful competing season this year. So you decided to take this jump and compete with the IFBB. I know you set yourself some quite big goals as well. So it'd be interesting to hear kind of what the plan was for this season and what shows you've done.
Okay, so originally when I like signed up with Corin, one of the things was like, what is your long-term goal with this? And I was like, eventually I want to turn pro. I was like, I know it's going to take years. I know that I'm not going to be ready for a long time and I don't have any experience pretty much, but it's something I really want. And then we were looking at dates, and I had it in my head that I was going to have to go and compete with maybe PCA and other federations first, just to like dip my toe in the water and get more experience before I could go for 2 bros. But then we were looking at dates, and I think it was around December that we were looking at dates, and we were going, right, well, we could do the April time, but you know, I was about to start a mini cut, and I was just like, well, then that's kind of like your prep. It would kind of all merge into one, and it would just be a long time cutting, which I ended up doing anyway. Thanks, Corona. But we were then looking, and then I was like, right, well, we could do the September shows, but then that's a really long time away. So we decided we wanted to aim June or July, and there wasn't many options in June or July apart from 2 bros, and I was like, okay. So we looked at dates, and originally there was a 2 bros like regional kind of qualifier at the last weekend of July, and the British finals were the first week in August. And because I would have to travel down anyway, I was like, well, that would be easier because I could go down and just stay the week and hopefully make the British finals. And my original goal was just to make it to the British finals that year. And then obviously Corona happened and everything got delayed, and it ended up being I was competing at the British finals. And so I got to go straight to the finals. I ended up winning my height class, and I ended up winning the overall in my first, no, I ended up in the overall in my first ever 2 bros show with my IFBB show. And to be that close to my pro card in my first ever show, I was like, okay, that's insane. And my second show ever. So yeah, it was a massive step up. And then that was when I realized, like, okay, maybe I'm a bit closer to my goal than I thought. So yeah, that was the goal, was to try and attempt pro cards in like a year or two, but we ended up kind of almost getting there on our first shot. And then we were so close, we're like, let's go again. My feedback was to come in a little bit tighter. So we pushed for conditioning for the Benueta. And we definitely got there. We definitely got more conditioned, but my body was just so tired. And when I look at the stage pictures now, I can see I'm not as full as I maybe could have been from the back. But again, I think it was just the length of diet, because it ended up being like a 6-month prep by the end. And it was just too long. But that couldn't have been helped with the situation. So yeah, but I still really happy with, like, that was the best I've looked at the Benueta for sure. So after that, it was just my body was tired. We decided no, like, off season. And then I was fairly keen to go again quite soon, but after discussing with Corin, we're going to have at least 6 months in a solid off season, because I do have room to grow a little bit, and then hopefully aim for shows at the back end of next year. So yeah, that's the plan.
Very exciting. I do think your body tells you to bugger off at some point, especially 6 months is an awfully long time to be dieting.
It like, I could feel it. And like, even now, like, I had such bad back pain for like even the last couple of days, like, and I've been waking up every night since my show with cramp in my calves. Like, my digestion post show was the worst it has ever been. Like, my body was absolutely screaming at me by the end of that prep, and I could feel it. And I mean, it's gonna be hard. It's prep. You just have to suck it up, and if you don't want to do it, don't do it. So I tried very hard not to moan, but the 4 weeks between shows were difficult, and a definite push. So I think just next year, when it can be, like, originally we planned a 16 prep, and it ended up being 21 weeks before I even got on stage the first time, and then it was like another 4 weeks before I got on again, and it just dragged out, and it's not ideal when you are pushing your body like that. So hopefully next year will be a bit smoother.
Yeah, and I always find the gap between shows quite difficult as well, because it's a bit of a weird phase.
Like, before, I did one show and then went straight to an off season, and it's really funny. I never had the same post show experience twice. So after my first show, when I prepped myself, I actually got a really, really bad stomach bug like 2 days after. Like, I stepped off stage on the Saturday night at like 11 o'clock at night, and on the Monday at about 11 a.m. I started spewing my guts up for no reason, and I couldn't hold down any food. I actually dropped like 4 or 5 kilos from my stage weight during that first. It was bad, and the doctors were like, oh, it's the whey protein that you're having. I was like, it's 100% not the whey. I've been having it for months. I'm fine with the whey. I've got something wrong. But anyway, that went on for 2 weeks, and my appetite was low for like months, and so I had no problem with post-show food that time, because I didn't really want it. And once I stopped being sick, it was just a case of like trying to get myself hungry again and fuel my body up. And I stick to a meal plan most, like, all the time anyway. So it was just a case of getting the food back in. And so then when it came to the British finals, I was kind of nervous, because I hadn't really had a post-show experience before due to being ill the first time. And I actually handled it really well, and everything went, like, we came off stage. I had sushi with my mum and Nikki, so that was really nice. It all digested fine. I was a bit bloated, but who isn't post-show when you have some treats and stuff. I had a couple of cookies and things, but I definitely didn't overdo it, and I enjoyed some really nice meals and times with my family. And and then I just got back on it as of the Tuesday, and then was back on cardio and everything by the Wednesday, and working towards the goal of Benueta. And it was a really, really smooth post-show transition back into prep. And although the time between shows was hard, it wasn't the post-show part that was the struggle. And then this time, I was traveling on my own, and so I was like, well, I can't really go out for food on my own. That's a bit sad. So I ordered in, and there wasn't a lot of options around where the venue was this time. And I went for a Domino's, which I haven't had in about 2 years, and literally 2 slices and a couple of dough balls in, and I was spewing in the toilet all night. My digestive system isn't used, like I said, I eat on a meal plan and have done for about 2.5, 3 years now. And so foods like that is just not, they're just not used to it anymore. And it took me a long time to recover from that. And that just, it made it difficult for myself. And then I was just raging at myself that I did that. So
I think your body's a little bit more sensitive anyway after that amount of dieting.
Yeah, exactly. Like at the end of the dieting period and then putting in food that it hasn't had for like 3 years was not the best decision I've ever. But we learned.
I can remember being post my second show and literally sitting in bed and just thinking, oh, like, I feel horrific.
I had to drive back home. It's like an 8-hour drive, and I got stuck in traffic twice. And like every time I stopped for food, I stopped at a service station and I got like a little pack of sushi, some melon, and some cucumber sticks and hummus, and I couldn't even eat that. I started eating it and my stomach went into cramp, and it was just like, and then I was just sat in the car on my own like, oh, get me home.
This is horrible. So have you had feedback from the Benueta?
So yeah, I have actually. So my feedback was they said you were really well improved from the British. Just they still want to see me leaner. And the thing is, it's hard because I think with feedback, it's a lot of the time you might have a different opinion. So like, I actually think my package as a whole was maybe a little bit better at the British finals. I was fuller, and maybe it was the lighting there as well, because the stage pictures from the Benueta, quite a few girls were a bit like, oh, the lighting, I was so like shocked at my stage pictures. But yeah, they want to see me leaner again, which is definitely doable. There's always room for improvement. However, I do sometimes feel like I might be better to try off doing other shows in other countries as well. Just from looking at the Alicante show, like I don't think I would have placed like super highly or anything in it, but I definitely feel like my physique would sometimes fit in amongst the European physiques a little bit. So definitely next year, maybe looking to see if I can grow a bit more and maybe attempt some shows abroad, which is really exciting. So yeah, it's really hard because bikini is so subjective.
Yeah.
Like with a bodybuilder, if you go to a bodybuilding show, the person who wins is the biggest, leanest guy. With bikini, it's not about being the biggest and the leanest. It's all about everything. So all the balance and the proportions and the symmetry. And if you've got a panel of judges that like a slightly softer bikini look and you've come in more conditioned because of what they said last year, it doesn't matter. Like that's what they told you to do last year. So I really think with bikini, you have to bring a look to the stage that you like. And you have to be the happiest with yourself, regardless of what the judges are looking for that day. And eventually, if it's meant to be, it will be. And when it's your time, you will be rewarded for being your best self. That's kind of how I see it. So although feedback's important, and I definitely I like to have it because I like to know the reasonings why, and if there's anything like they would like to change. And I got a lot of positive feedback as well. Like they said that my presentation and things was really good, which was a part that I was not convinced was good. So that was really nice to hear. And yeah, it's just, I think you have to take it all with a pinch of salt and just focus on what you want to bring.
Yeah, I think it's a good guide, and like you say, different judges are going to look for completely different things, and I do think that there's a discrepancy between what European judges look for as opposed to American judges. So
yeah, exactly.
It all depends who's there on the day.
Exactly. Like when you look at the American, like the girls turning pro in the States, or like their national competitions and things, it's quite different to what we award in the UK, and what we award in the UK could be quite different to what they award in like Spain and Portugal and places like that. So I think being smart about where you fit. It's the same with federations as well. Like if you have a physique that looks great in PCA poses, then it makes sense for you to compete with the PCA. You know, it's the same kind of thing. You kind of need to find your place. And I mean, I've only done 3 shows, so I probably haven't found my place yet. So we're just going to keep working. And you know, you learn something from every experience as well. And it was just, I was so happy I continued to do the Benueta. So I placed lower down in the second show, but I had such a better time during the day. I was really enjoying it a lot more because my nerves weren't as bad. And that was a big thing for me, was actually getting stage experience, because I stepped on stage once and then went to a 12-month off season and then a 6-month prep. It'd been 18 months since I'd actually stepped foot on a stage, and I was so nervous. So I felt like a first timer all over again for the British finals. So the Benueta, it was really nice to just enjoy the time up there and the presentation of all my hard work.
I don't know whether you found it as well, because I did similar to you, that I had my first season and then my second season I did IFBB. I spent a lot of time freaking myself out about the standard of IFBB and 2 bros. So I think I had a similar experience, that I had talked myself out of it before I even stepped on stage and saw where I sat.
Yeah, I was literally like, the whole time I was like, are you nervous? I was like, I'm fine. Like the typical like insert Friends meme, I'm fine, like Ross. But and then I got to like backstage and I was pumping up and I was like, oh my god, I'm so scared. And like I was trying to just be chatty and like make some, when I get a bit like that, I do just kind of try to overcompensate and make some jokes and like just bury my head in the sand and pretend it's not happening. And yeah, and I just stood in line waiting to go on for my first class, and I was absolutely petrified. And I remember being on stage and I could feel my body like trembling and shaking the whole time. And even when I watched back footage of us standing in line, I can see myself shaking. Like people nodding, it's like, oh, you couldn't tell, but when you look for it, I could see myself shaking. And yeah, I came off stage and I was fine backstage with all the girls and things, but as soon as I saw my mom and Nikki, I broke down, because I was like, I can't pretend in front of them that I enjoyed that. I was so nervous, I ruined it for myself, and I ended up having a panic attack coming off the junior stage. And not because I was unhappy, like I got second place and I was absolutely freaking buzzing, but I was frustrated with myself that I had ruined it for myself by building all up and making myself so nervous that I didn't actually enjoy the experience of coming second, my first ever time stepping on a stage like 2 bros. So yeah, and then when I went back off my open class, it was so much better. And that was another reason, like I said, for doing the Benueta, was I wanted to get on stage for that first class of the day and be confident and not doubt myself and not work myself up to the point of panic attack.
And how did you kind of tackle that? Is there anything that you kind of did to try and make the experience better?
So I just literally doing it again. Like a big part of it was it was out of my comfort zone, in that, you know, if you want me to pose in my kitchen, I can do it totally fine and it's great. But on a stage in front of people is just so daunting. And like you said, I feel like there is this hype with like the IFBB, and like it's that you need to already be at that level to step on stage, when it's not that at all. And that they have novice classes and beginners classes for a reason, is that they will, you know, it's no different to standing on any other stage. And I think I just put all these expectations on myself and hyped up the process of it all way more than it actually was. And yeah, it was just, I felt the panic attack stemmed from me letting myself down by not being able to enjoy it, rather than the fact that the thing was actually stressful, because it wasn't stressful.
Yeah.
I was just overthinker and stress head.
Me too. I'm a worrier.
I am a worrier, 100%. Me and Corin have a running joke about me overthinking, and she's like, "Oh, you overthink? That's new."
I'm
like,
so with you there. And I think part of the reason I put a package on stage last year that I wasn't happy with was because I stressed myself out so much.
Yeah.
And it showed in my physique, 100%.
Yeah, I definitely think as well that like next time, like the package from the finals to the Benueta, there was a lot more stress going on in between times, and like not even just like physical stress from more cardio things, but also just like I was stressing myself out again with not even so much expectations. I just felt quite stressed in general with everything going on, and it was just, it does show in your physique. And it's something I will say to my girls as well, is a lot of them will have a really stressful weekend, or something will happen at home or at work, and maybe the scales go up or their check-in pictures aren't as good, and they're like, oh, I don't understand, and this is just added to my bad week. And I'm like, your pictures shouldn't give you a bad week. It's because of a bad week that you're not happy with your pictures. Like, just go have a bath, chill out, come back to me tomorrow and you'll probably look better. And most of the time you do.
Yeah, I think when you're in a contest prep, it's really hard to get out of that cycle.
Definitely. Your emotions are just so heightened, and it doesn't take much. Like, I am an emotional person anyway. Like, Nikki, bless him, I cry a lot. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm excited. I cry when I'm sad, when I'm stressed, when I'm angry. Like, you name it, there's tears. Like, it just happens. And it was just like, I would start crying at anything. Like, if he said something nice to me, I would like cry and be like, "You're just so lovely." He'd be like, "Oh, for God's sake."
I'm not normally emotional, but I can remember being on prep and sitting at my desk at work, and it was like 10 a.m. and I'd cried 4 times already, and I was sat there staring at the ceiling thinking, please don't cry in the office.
You know what? The thing is, when I start to get emotional and cry, I then start stressing out, going, "Oh my God, I'm going to get too dehydrated."
Yeah.
Like,
I'm the same. When I can't get out my emotions.
My water count for all the tears.
Yeah. And then you get frustrated, so you cry more.
Exactly. And then you go, "Oh, I've messed my whole prep up now. Let's cry some more."
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny because a logical, rational brain doesn't think like that, but a depleted diet brain does.
Yeah, and I think me and you are quite similar. We've spoken about this before, that we are both all in, and I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to perform at a certain level.
Yeah, no, we have as well. And also, like, feel a certain way about it. Like we've said before about, like, we're both all in, and we both like to be like, you know, this is a choice we're making. Like, we want to be positive about it. Like, it's a positive experience, and we want to, you know, you don't want to do it and then moan about it, because that's not why we do it, because we love it. But like, it's that that guilt of not, like, you know, when you feel like you're not being positive, when you say that you're a positive person, and like, it's so hard to explain to people sometimes that, like, yes, this is a choice, yes, I am enjoying myself, but it's also really difficult. And some days I don't feel that positive about it, and it's okay. And I struggle myself to feel like, I feel like I should always be out there like, yeah, this is awesome. And it's something I've really tried hard to do on like my social media and things, is be real about all the days, because you shouldn't hate every moment of it. And there are days I feel awesome. And I'm not going to lie, up until the British finals, I don't think I had very many bad prep days ever. Like, it was a really, really good prep up until then. But those last 4 weeks between shows were a hard push. And because they asked me to come in leaner, it wasn't a case of just like cruising into the next one. It was a case of you have to really work to keep pushing body fat off at that point. And so, yeah, it was a hard push, and there was a lot more hard days in those 4 weeks than there were in the first 4 months of prep. And I felt so guilty for struggling. And yeah, because that's the thing, is I am a positive person and I'm a happy person, and I do genuinely love competing in the process. But it's also okay if you have days when you don't love it and it does feel like it sucks a little bit. But you just have to embrace the suck and know that that's what's going to make you better. And you're going to come out the other side of it a better, stronger person. And pushing myself through those 4 weeks has, like, I feel like I could do anything now. I'm like, God, I made it through those 4 weeks that sucked. Like, you can do it now. It's fine.
It's a really weird concept to explain to people, but I almost enjoy the suck, like, because
Yeah.
I know that when I've made it through those days, it's almost like you've hardened yourself a little bit more, like you've overcome that little challenge.
Yeah, like literally on a day that really sucked and I was really tired and things were really difficult, I would literally eat my last meal and I'd go to bed and I'd just lie in bed and be like, look, you've done it today, you can do it tomorrow. And like I say this as, again, like clients that are really struggling, like take it a day at a time. Don't think about the fact that you've got 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks left. Like think about the fact that you got through today and you can get through tomorrow. Like that's it. And then when you get through tomorrow, well, you've done 2 you can get through the next day. And sometimes it is just that stripping it back, take it a step at a time, and if you break it down into smaller parts, eventually you'll get there.
I know that when I'm struggling with training towards the end, particularly with energy, I count down how many of them sessions I've got left before show. And that's a way of pushing myself through. So I'm like, right, you've got 4 more leg days to make it count.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's cardio sessions, and I'm like, yes, only 3 cardio sessions left. You've got this. And when the cardio goes, I'm like, okay, now we can just cruise in and enjoy.
Yeah, and it's just breaking it down into manageable chunks. I can remember you saying to me actually on a voice note, I've got 12 more days, or however many days it was. Anyone can do this for 12 days. And it's true, isn't it?
I always say, like, you can do, like, for example, a week, like you can do anything for a week, even if it sucks. Like you could do it for a week. Like it's not a big chunk of your life. It's not a long time. Like you can do it. And another way I like, there's a good analogy that I like, is that if you're driving in the dark and you got your headlights on, you don't see the whole road ahead of you. You just see the first couple of feet, and you just trust that once you get through those couple of feet, that the headlights will get you through the next couple of feet and the next couple of feet until you eventually get to your destination. And it's the same with a diet, is that as long as you know you can get through the next 24 hours, get through the next and the next and the next. Like when you're at the end of a contest prep, like maybe not so much if you're just doing it for like a lifestyle diet and you're just trying to lose a little bit of weight, but when you're at the end of a prep and things are difficult, like if you just know that you can get through the next day, well, you can get through the one after that. And sometimes that is just the approach you need to take. It's just manage the next 24 hours, and then after that you can worry about the next 24.
Yeah, definitely. One step at a time.
Yeah.
So obviously you've set yourself a big goal that you want to get to eventually. Do you ever struggle with self-belief, or do you have you always believed that you can get there?
I mean, I definitely struggle with self-belief a lot, and I was never a confident person. Like as a child, I was shy, like pretty shy. I was the kid that would cry when the video camera came out or the camera came out. Like there's not a whole bunch of childhood pictures of me. I wasn't overly confident. And then in my kind of teen years, I definitely faked confidence a lot, alcohol being a big part of that. And just it's only been the last few years that I've become more confident and been able to believe in myself more. But I definitely have a lot of doubts. I'm like a weird mix, and I believe so much in that you dictate your future, and like if you want something, you have to know that you want it. You have to work hard for it, and just know that when the time is right, it will come. So as much I believe so much you dictate your future, but also that what's meant to be will be, and that if it's not your time, it's not your time. And especially with something like a goal like turning pro, or, you know, I would love to be a competitive pro one day. But like, if this year wasn't my time, that's fine, and there's a reason for that. And then especially when I look back at my pictures of my physique, I'm like, I can see why. Like, I know that I've got areas I can improve in, and everyone does, because you'll never ever be perfect. It's kind of one of the sadistic things I love about bodybuilding, is that you're trying to create the perfect body, but that does not exist, because there's always something that could be better, and so you're never done. And so at some point you will have to finish, and your competing life will end, but no one can ever say like bodybuilding completed it, mate, because there's there's always something that could be better. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you could pick apart anybody's physique and say, oh well, actually, if I was seeing, you know, that bicep's actually a little bit bigger than that one, so, you know, go work on that. You know, it's just
not just physique either, it's posing and
exactly
stage
like
presence.
there's always something that can be worked on. And so you're never done. And so if it wasn't your time, you take back, you can, like we were saying about judges' feedback and stuff, and you go away and you work on it and you try again. And so, yeah, self-belief is difficult, because you definitely have to fake it till you make it a little bit at the start, I think. But I am a big believer in like positivity and affirmations, and I definitely do believe in myself more than I ever did. And I think this season helped with that a lot, because I doubted myself quite a bit going into those shows. I felt like I wasn't good enough. And then as I got leaner and leaner, I started sending my check-ins, and I was like, is this me? Like, doesn't really look like me, but that's my check-in.
Definitely me.
I don't took that, but are you sure? And and then, you know, the cars come back like, it's you're done really well, you're looking amazing. And I'm like, I couldn't, I almost couldn't believe it. And I think like you were saying about my progress from my first show back in April 2019 to the British finals, just, I think it showed me that if you're willing to work hard, you can do it, and you can do anything you set your mind to, but you just have to put your kind of actions where your mouth is and actually go out and get it done. So yeah, like, self-belief, I think, comes a lot with hard work, and I feel like training as well helps a lot. Like, you're probably the same in that when you're in the gym and you're constantly looking at your logbook and you're beating your lifts and you're progressing that, and you can see it in the numbers that you're improving. You know it in yourself that you're improving as well. And I think that you're like, right, if I've taken my deadlift up 20 kilos, something must be going on somewhere. So it's yeah, self-belief comes with time, and I wouldn't say I'm the most confident person in the world, and this post-show period had definitely proved that to me. I definitely struggled when I was having so much bloating and stuff from all the digestion problems. I was definitely struggling a lot with how I looked, especially because I was going on holiday, and the thought of standing in a bikini was filling me with such dread. But I'm definitely more confident than I've ever been before. So it's just it's growing, it's coming. We'll get there.
Exactly as you say, with the physique and the training, it's a work in progress, because I'm exactly the same as you, is that I've never been a particularly confident person, but there's something very empowering that comes with training, and there's something very empowering that comes with taking one day at a time and kind of doing everything you can to, as cliche as it sounds, be better.
Yeah, it's like working on yourself through exercise and nutrition is such a selfish act, because it doesn't actually benefit anyone else but you, but it makes you feel like no one can take it away from you. Like, no one can it's like the highest form of self-love, because not only are you're not yes, you're maybe not accepting yourself for who you are, and you should always accept yourself for who you are first, but if you want to be the best version of yourself, then taking care of your body from the inside and outside, feeling physically strong helps you feel mentally strong 100%. If you know that you can go in and smash out a session and you come away from it feeling empowered, and like sometimes I leave the gym feeling like I could take on the world. Like not always. There's definitely I don't. But if I've had a good session, it makes me have the best day. Like if I have a bad session, so it definitely it feeds into that a lot. But there's something so empowering about working on yourself for yourself, and especially like I see this a lot with clients who are maybe like mums, or they have really demanding jobs, and they give and they give and they give a lot of the time, and it's like you need to give to yourself too. And with your exercise and your nutrition, like that's giving to yourself, and nobody can take that away from you, because it's your body that sees the benefits. So it's the perfect way to kind of practice that little bit of self-love.
And I think that in turn allows you to be a better person in other aspects of your life, because I know that through gaining confidence through bodybuilding, I've become better at my job.
Oh yeah.
And I'm more driven and more.
I'm a nice person when I feel good about me. Like when I feel down and I don't feel confident in myself, like it's really hard to give more. Whereas like when you feel good about yourself, you want to help others feel good. And it definitely feeds in. Like when I'm in a good state of mind and like being really productive, I'm a much better coach, I'm a much better girlfriend, I'm a much better daughter. Like I'm a much better, all of those things across the board when I'm in a good, and it reflects, like how you feel about yourself reflects in the people around you. And so when you're taking care of yourself and you feel good, you almost always help them feel good too.
Well,
So, yeah.
I suppose we better wrap this up here, because I think we've been going for
Sorry.
an hour. No, I love it. It's been so lovely to talk to you, and I am so excited to see your next move and see how much progress you make. And yeah, I'm be a little fangirl over here cheering you on.
Oh, thank you. Like it still blows my mind. Like it's so funny. Like when I went back to the compact post, like the original one the other day, and like you were one of the first people to comment on it, and I was like, how funny is that we still speak to this day all the way back from that one random post?
Yeah, it just shows the power of the community, definitely.
It does 100%. But yeah, thank you very much for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And if people want to follow your journey or contact you, where can they find you?
So it's mainly just my Instagram, and it's just at Jenny Hamilton PT.
Lovely. So if anyone's got any questions, they can either send me a DM or contact Jenny herself.
Yep.
But thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and I will see you on the next episode.